On this week's episode of The Smoke Break, we talk with comedian Amani about the connection between our mental and physical health. We also discuss reacting versus responding and how tuning into our intuition can support that process. Episodes release on all platforms Mondays at 6 p.m. And welcome to The Smoke Break. We are here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz.
Hello.
And Amani.
What's up? Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a treat. It took a lot of coordination to try and get you here, but I'm excited to finally have you on an episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I'm sure you have a lot on your mind, as is usually the case. But this week I kind of wanted to talk to you about the mind-body connection.
Yeah.
I know in my experience, if my body's not feeling good, it's hard for my mind to do any differently. So what would you say is your experience with that?
Well, for me, it's just, I guess, like, at least in the recent life, I've been going through like quite a few medical like issues and realizing that like the uncertainty and the unknown, it can, like, as far as or as much as you want to ignore it,
Yeah.
it will catch up to you.
Yes.
You can't keep putting off things, especially when it comes to your health
Yes.
and thinking that like your mental is not going to.
Yeah. I'll just push through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just push through. I'm strong. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't just keep up.
Yeah, definitely. So you said that you've been dealing with things recently. The uncertainty is kind of bothering you.
Yeah.
Would you say that it's more the idea that like because you don't know what it is, it's more scary, or would you feel more comfortable knowing that it was something bad?
That is a very good question. I think I would be. Well, it's weird because I hate doctors. I do not like going to the doctor.
Okay.
Especially getting blood drawn and all that stuff. I do not like it. So part of me is like, it would be cool if I just didn't know what it was.
Yes.
Right.
And I think that like because of the anxiety I have with going to doctors, I don't proactively try and find out what's going on
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
the time. And so I will put it off until it hurts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Quite
Like literally until it hurts. But I think that maybe knowing something bad is better than not knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you can find a solution, right?
Yeah, you could find a solution. Now, do
Ideally.
I do it? I can't say that I necessarily do that. But should I? Absolutely, I should.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Zoe? Would you say that with like mind-body connection that there's been...
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, like, I think what you said, Imani, about like the doctor, like, I think that's really relevant. I think a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons, feel stigmatized by doctors, whether that's, and sometimes it's just the fear of like knowing what's
Yeah.
wrong with you. But I think there's also a lot of underlying stigma around doctors because they often want to talk to you about stuff that's not what you came in to talk about, or they'll make you feel uncomfortable, or like make you do something with your body that doesn't make you feel, like, I just feel like the medical system is often like really what's the word? Like, it just invasive. Like, it feels like it feels invasive. And I can relate to that, like avoiding the doctor or they're like, oh, you're fat, or like stuff like that. Like, they'll point out shit to you and you're like, is that why I'm here? Like, I feel really safe talking to you about what's going on with me now that you like made some weird comment about my body or something, And I think there's lots of reasons why doctors are weird, but I think that's a common thing. And I've definitely experienced that before, like avoiding dealing with your health because of the anxiety and like stress that comes along with going and talking to some stranger about these hard things, and then them not having like good bedside manner or whatever the hell we call that.
Yeah. Well, I would say like I've been having like some health issues or whatever, and because I haven't had access to insurance and stuff like that, I'm just like, all right, well, I mean, I guess I can kind of just put it off. But it's like, I would say the wondering what the problem is worse than knowing that it's like what I need to start dealing with.
Yeah.
So for you, would you say that like going forward, like what is going to be the thing that like helps you become less anxious? Would you say it's facing it head on, or?
Well, like for me, for example, like I went to the doctor, I went to the emergency room on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Mostly because I think I told you about it. I have this rash on my arms and no one knows what it is. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't itch, but
it's weird. I've had something similar.
Yeah, and like doctors, I feel like they do not give a shit.
Yeah.
No matter how much I tell them, like, this isn't normal. I shouldn't be like having red spots all over my body.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Like something's wrong. And because I went with Brent to the doctor, he advocated for me because it just seemed like nobody was listening. Good. Plus, Black women are the most likely to be ignored.
I was going to say that
in the medical field. So having someone there to advocate for me, because I think that knowing that sometimes makes it harder for me to say something just because I feel like sometimes I'm just testing it. I'm like, will this doctor give a shit?
Yeah.
Like they didn't want to do any blood work while I was in the emergency room. And I was like, I think you should try and do whatever it takes to figure out
what it is.
This is.
Yeah.
I made the effort to come here. You should make the effort to figure it out.
No, yeah,
exactly. I'm like, there's no car accidents. There's no people with bloody arms in the emergency room. Please help.
Yeah, you're like, can you just do your job, please?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I know another comic who was struggling. They had an infection in their arm and like they just were not being acknowledged because they were a Black woman. And it's literally like I don't know what causes the disconnect, but I've noticed that there is a disconnect, and it's like I'm sorry that that's your lived experience.
There's a lot. I don't like I've learned a lot about the history behind that. I'm sure you know, Imani. There's like a long history.
Please educate me. I'm kind of curious.
Do you want to talk about it at all? I don't know if you want to.
Well, one thing is that there was this idea back in slavery that Black people in general were much stronger than just white people, so they could withstand a lot more.
That's a cool stereotype, but I can see it also being very harmful.
But it is very
because it just means like we could withstand more.
Those weren't whippings; those were pats on the back.
Well, and there was like experimental surgeries done on Black women because they thought Black women couldn't feel pain.
Literally, they thought we could not feel pain.
And it's whether they actually thought that or they just decided that.
Yeah.
But that was totally I've learned a lot about that recently, so I'm sure that's
So what would you say is like been the biggest disconnect for you in having like maybe a disease that's not being acknowledged?
For me, it's just like the way it makes me insecure in a weird way, especially since like for me, like I have this rash on my body and it makes me like feel like I have to cover up myself. It's like mostly don't want to explain things.
Totally.
Especially explaining things I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know what it is.
I really have I have no idea. And like I'm trying to be proactive, but no one's listening.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I want to be able to like tell people so I can get like comfort, but I don't want to tell someone something that's not true.
Yeah, because you don't have all the information.
Because I don't have the information. And so a lot of times like I feel like I'm carrying like a secret. That I'm mentally struggling with, and like when you're mentally struggling with something and you can't tell anyone, like that just makes things a lot worse.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to just be able to like confide in people about.
You not only have the pain of what's happening, but the pain of not being able to communicate it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
And so like, it just feels very destructive because I'm like, who do I like cry to? Who do I yell to?
Yeah.
And like people are gonna have questions, and I don't have an answer for them, and they don't have an answer for me, and like, we're just gonna sit around and guess together, like, and I don't want to sit around and guess
have a powwow and be like, I don't know, what do you think it is?
Did they end up taking your blood and stuff after Brent advocated for you, or how did that go down?
They ended up putting in a referral to a dermatologist.
Okay. That's good.
All I really could have asked for. I mean, I went to the doctor every week of the month of January.
Wow.
Every single week, and then the final week, actually February, Valentine's Day was the day.
Fun.
They finally.
You guys got to spend your romantic Valentine's Day in the emergency room.
In the emergency room.
That's love, though, you know?
It was very sweet. Thank you. I'll have to thank him at some point.
You're when I feel better and I have the energy.
But it was like, it was stupid. I mean, in my head, I'm like, why can't you guys just help? Like, why can't, like, you don't know the answer, but like, it's a skin thing, so talk to a dermatologist. They'll
you are the closest person to the person who could figure this out.
Yeah, and I ended up seeing a dermatologist, getting a biopsy. They cut into some of the spots on my body, which then they just gave me some results, just some speculations on what it could be.
So I need theories.
I know, and I was like, I already WebMD'd this, so getting me some more things to WebMD, I don't need that right now. I'm like, I try and stay positive and be like, well, I don't hurt, I don't feel any pain, nothing itches, nothing burns, nothing, just nothing. I don't feel any sort of pain, but it still fucks with my head. Like, what's going on.
Totally.
Like,
well, I think just being invalidated about a disease or whatever you're experiencing, that invalidation is like, it's the difficulty of experiencing it and then not having like any answers for it and not having any, I guess, empathy for the situation, because like they can't put a name on it, so they can't exactly proportionately feel good or bad about, you know, where you're at with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just wish that they would have in 5 weeks made some sort of effort to acknowledge what I was saying. Like, it was just take creams, take a Benadryl. I was like, it's not hives. It's not hives.
You're like, it doesn't itch. I don't need Benadryl.
Yeah.
I know.
And I've been back every week. So if
I was like, clearly, if it was something that like, if you guys were helping, I wouldn't come here every single week.
Yeah, totally.
But they get paid for you coming there every week.
Well,
so.
and that's like the discontinuity in the medical system too, which is like another reason why it's so like you have to go in there and tell them the same fucking story over and over again. You're like, you could probably just like, if they actually, there was cohesiveness to the way that like they shared the information from the past appointment. It's like more traumatizing to have to go in there and re-explain yourself and have somebody give you the same half-ass answers that you got last week, and you're like, did you read the chart notes? Like,
why did I tell the last person if I'm re-explaining the story?
Yeah, it's like really invasive.
That happened when I just like went to the doctor for mental health stuff. Like, it was just telling the same people who work in the same office the same
you're like,
thing.
And I'm supposed to feel cared for?
Exactly. I mean, clearly you guys aren't like, this isn't a team.
Yeah.
This is just a bunch of individual people, and like, I think for me, I'm semi-private about things that go on in my life. I don't publicly announce them until I'm ready to publicly announce them.
Sure.
But like, having multiple people know like an issue, especially in the medical field, and they're not communicating with each other, so I'm just constantly telling person after person after person after person.
Yes.
It gets annoying.
Yeah.
It gets so annoying.
Yeah. Well, and you know, like not seeing any progress with it for 5 weeks, that's a really long time to like, by the time you went in and even addressed that it was a problem, especially as somebody who doesn't like doctors, like it had already been a problem for a while. So it's like you needed it addressed at that moment, not 5 weeks from that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, so I was very proactive.
Yeah.
How does that work? You're a hypochondriac who hates doctors? How do you balance that?
I know.
WebMD.
WebMD.
That's how we all do it, Zane. Come on.
Exactly. I just Googled it. I wanted to know, like, how am I dying?
Just because I'm worrying doesn't mean I know how to find it. Yeah, but I mean, they don't make you feel better a lot of the time. Sometimes it feels better to try and figure it out on your own.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I similarly kind of did the same thing with like my paranoia, where it's just like I could wait to get a doctor, or I could look at the things that I'm experiencing and be like, okay, what are the symptoms of what I'm experiencing?
Yeah.
And
And Google, it's a great source.
Yeah.
It might give you more anxiety, but it's a great source.
True.
But I think there's a certain there's less anxiety in having an idea what something could be, even if you don't know exactly what it is. Knowing that it's at least something and not just this vague like it could be anything, because that's scary.
Yeah,
anything could be scary. It might be this. I can deal with that.
Exactly. I could deal with like it might be, or like. Even like, I think WebMD, like searching, that didn't give me anxiety. What gave me anxiety is going to the doctor every week and no one giving me any answer whatsoever.
Yeah.
Being like, you have hives. Maybe you're stressed out.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're like, I'm stressed
You're like,
out.
Maybe I'm stressed out. Maybe I'm stressed out.
Like, it's so annoying. I had one doctor. It wasn't actually my primary doctor. My primary doctor, for some odd reason, couldn't see me. So someone else in the office saw me for something. I think it's just like my neck hurt. But he's just like, it sucks that you've seen so many people and no one's done anything about this.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, it does. And then he himself was just like, Black women are the most ignored in the medical field. And I was like, see, you know it.
And then he was like, I'll be right back. And then just
I mean, he didn't really do much. He was just like, it's stress.
He acknowledged it.
But did it feel better that he at least acknowledged that that's your experience that you're having?
Exactly. It felt better to hear someone acknowledge that, like, my experience is I'm having pain. And it's not comfortable. And when I say that I don't feel comfortable, it means I don't feel comfortable, because I would just say something for shits and giggles. Like, even though I'm a comedian, I'm not just
You're like,
there is a time and a place for shits and giggles. The doctor's office, not that time.
Well, and I think acknowledging that, like, that there is that like historical like racism involved in the medical system, like, is that fact that's a part of every time you had to go knowing that that's part of why you're being ignored, and then having somebody say that, like, whether he did anything different or not, I'm glad he at least acknowledged that, because that's part of why it's stressful for you, on top of not knowing what's going on and just the fact of not being able to get a solution, So
and then you still have to go through regular life with this like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
For me, it was very hard because it started like January of me starting to deal with medical stuff, and I'm like, I had in December had a car accident.
Jesus.
Someone hit my car, hit and run, and then I guess maybe shot at my window. Who knows? We will never know.
The world may never know.
The world may never know.
I saw that. Yeah.
And then hit off my other side view mirror. I'm just like, I must have somebody who just hates me. Or my car just hates Dodge Avengers so much.
Your insurance company loves you.
They love me. But like having to still continue to go through life, like one of the hard things for me is like the Willamette Week thing. As cool as that should have been.
Yeah, congratulations.
I'm like looking at my skin like, I don't know what's going on with me medically.
Yeah.
But I still gotta
show up
and accept all this praise.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Sometimes when you're dealing with something in private, it's hard to accept anything publicly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that was perfect.
Yeah, that's a
cool.
Good point.
Well, we're actually going to tie it up on that nice little gem. Thank you for watching The Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. We'll be right back after this commercial break. And we are back with The Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Shorts.
Hi.
And Amani.
What's up?
All right, cool. So, Zoe, go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like the idea of our intuition versus like being triggered, or sort of like how to determine when our inner voice is like a reaction to our past experiences or sort of like a trauma versus like when that voice is guiding us to like our truth or whatever. And for me, sometimes I really struggle to figure out like the difference between those two voices. And I was wondering, like, can you think of any times where like you felt connected to your intuition, or where you felt like a disconnect, or sort of like how do you relate to that idea of like listening to your inner voice and determining how it's guiding you? Yeah, like is that something you think about, or do you think about intuition like that?
I do when something feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you need to listen to your intuition.
When I need to listen to my intuition, I definitely tune into it. I think the parts or the times where I fail too is like when I'm feeling optimistic in the moment. I'm like, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
And like everything else goes out the window. I don't even see how that could be negative because I'm just thinking about the end goal. I'm skipping the steps. And I'm just like, oh, well, this cool thing could happen if this all works out.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I fell for like online scams sometimes.
Those are pretty sweet. Those are pretty. You're just like, hey, everything's working out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this huge opportunity to make some money.
What do you mean you're going to give me $3 million? I needed that.
Yeah.
Like, I'll fall for stuff like that. But that's just because like I'm thinking of what is going to come from it versus like taking it slowly and like analyze. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I think, especially with stuff like that, you really have to like not do it for a little bit, just think.
Yeah.
Like take the impulse out of it. Because there's sometimes like whenever your intuition isn't really working, you're moving on impulse control. Like, hardcore.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking about that, the idea of like reacting versus responding. And that's totally what like me and Zane were talking about, like when you take the time to sit with what your initial emotional reaction is or your initial thought and decide whether you want to act on it or not, or whether it's like something that feels like the right thing to act on. Yeah, sort of like I've been thinking about that a lot lately, like when I'm responsive versus reactive, and like how when I'm reactive, I often like regret the way I reacted, or I end up acting the same way as the person that is doing something that I think is harmful or whatever, and then wishing I would have been more level-headed about it, So like, yeah, trying to figure out how to like. But I think you're right. I think it's that space, like taking space in between.
And I know, especially social media, like I mean, I'm young.
Yeah.
Like I've been on social media.
Yeah, it's different.
My whole entire life.
Yeah, it's totally different.
And I remember like the online bullying when I was younger was already bad enough.
Yeah.
And then now with this like posting my jokes on social media and people are mean to me, I lose it. I don't know how to calmly interact. That's why I don't have my comments on at all on anything, because like I know myself and I know that I didn't like being a victim back then, and at this point in my life I don't have to be. So I'm like, I'm gonna start typing as many mean things as I possibly can.
You're taking the power back, and then you're like, is this doing that?
Yeah, like talk shit, get hit, stupid. Hit with these words.
No. I'm glad you brought that up though, actually, because we kind of thought maybe I meant to ask you about that earlier, but yeah, like you've got like a much bigger presence online now with your comedy, and like it's come with a lot of weird internet shit. I think also something I've noticed is like people on the internet, like I've seen the people that troll, they go for like the most hurtful, the lowest blow, right? Like the shit we're trying not to do in comedy that we know is like the shittiest comedy. They get on there and they're like, hey, you're fat, like you have glasses, or I don't know what they say to you, but like they pick on like the lowest shit, like the most petty shit I've noticed like troll type people do.
I react to it all. And sometimes I'm just like
evenly.
I know, I'm like, I really should just leave it alone, because you'll get positive responses.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
But it's the moment someone's like, you're not funny. Women aren't funny. You sound like Amy Schumer. All women do is talk about sex. Or why do you always talk about race? And when people try to tell me about me, that's when I'm like, no, I'm supposed to tell you about me. You don't get to tell me who I am. And then
I like that perspective.
Then I start to attack, and I know I shouldn't. Like I went off on this man once. And this is like problematic.
It was a response. All right.
It was a reaction.
It was very much a reaction. And if it wasn't for the people around me, I would have kept it going. And
I feel like I could relate.
He said I should quit comedy. And that's not that big of a deal. It's not. It's not. But
pretty low hanging fruit.
Was triggered.
Yeah.
Sure.
I did not take the time to think. So I opened up his profile. I didn't open any post. I just looked at it and skimmed it. And then I went back to that comment and I said, your kid is ugly.
Damn.
Then he was like, you're talking about my kid. Blah, 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 you're not funny. And I was like, okay, well, your car is busted.
Like your kid.
And then he kept going, and then it got really bad. It got so bad that I probably should not say it on here. We'll just say it got
but I mean,
really, really bad.
It's the problem is that like sometimes people only see your reaction to that and not the thing that caused you to react like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the problem with, responses and reactions, is that like that's why it's important for us to make sure that we're responding and not reacting, because more often than not, people are only going to see the thing that we did, not the thing that made us do what we did.
Yeah. It led to this guy saying that he's going to get me canceled. And I was like, try
good luck, buddy. Good luck.
Like, canceled how? I don't have any money that someone could take away from me.
My sponsorship?
You're like, fuck my car up? Because
exactly. You really couldn't do much to me.
Bring it on, dude. But something you said made me think about how like it sounds like on some level, like there's, like you said, like you experienced bullying as a younger person too, which I'm sure most of us did, whether it was on the internet or in real life or both. But I think like that part of you that's like now standing up for yourself when you maybe didn't feel like you had the voice back then.
Yeah.
But then also like the line between like, because I think part of that voice is like your intuition rising up and being like, no, I'm not going to take this shit any longer, right? But what's that line of like, when am I harming myself? When do I cross over into like too triggered versus like empowered triggered kind of like?
And it's a weird balance, because like I remember when I first decided that I needed to go through my entire Instagram and turn every single post comments off. Like it doesn't matter if it's a video or whatever, all my comments are off.
Yeah.
And that decision came from like getting sexually harassed, getting like people saying mean things to me, and knowing how I wanted to respond and knowing that I could not respond that way.
Yeah.
And having those off, I would get DMs, because I have to have my DMs open, and people saying, you're a comedian. Why are you being a coward? You shouldn't be so sensitive. Like people saying
like,
that
like,
to
let me bully you in public.
Exactly. They're like, let me treat you badly. And I'm like, no. I don't have to allow people to treat me badly. I do not have to. And I think that the weird thing is, I feel like people see comedians and they think that we start doing comedy and now we don't have feelings.
Does that make sense? Jokes about our pain doesn't mean it doesn't still hurt.
That doesn't, it means it hurts when you make jokes about my pain.
You're like, it's like when someone talks shit about your parents and you're like, I could talk shit about my parents. You can't talk shit about my parents.
Exactly. Exactly. And that makes me mad. I'm like, hey, look, I still have feelings. I still do. I didn't get rid of, I don't have powers. I can't fly. I don't. Being a comedian does not come with any sort of perk.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not even rich from it yet. You're like, hopefully soon, but
no. I was like, I don't even make money from it. I mean, I do sometimes.
Not enough to be like relaxed about it.
Exactly.
Not enough to pay for the therapy I need from all these fucking trolls.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think about like the way you like open yourself up to other people when you get like, it's like the internet, like, and people feel like they have access to you. Like, that's what I mean by them being like, yo, you turned your comments off. What are you, a pussy? Yeah, it's like, just because I post my stuff on the internet doesn't mean that like I have to be like this.
Exactly.
Like this thing that you can just...
I'm not an influencer. Yeah. That's what I think that some people like, I don't know, people see that the followers and they're like, oh, I've even had people say you need to like capitalize off of this. You need to post more. You need to be more consistent. I don't give a. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't give a fuck about these people. Like, I don't
care about some of these people.
Their opinions about what you need to do with your life.
I don't care about like the opinions. I want to have control over my life. I spent a lot of time in my life not having control over my life. And if social media is where I want to have my control, that's where I'm going to have my control.
Absolutely.
And I don't like, I'll post when I want to post. I'll do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like.
Yeah. I'm not here to. Yeah. I'm not here to just do what you want me to do.
Exactly.
This is my art. I express myself.
Exactly. This is our art. And if I want to be sensitive, I could be sensitive because it's my art.
Yeah. Well, and I like that you took your power back in the places that you could, because it's like you as a comedian want to reach as many people with your comedy as possible, but like that doesn't mean that like people now deserve access to being mean to you.
Yes, like they feel entitled to you.
To be mean or gross or whatever it is. They think that like now all of a sudden, you're a public figure, so now I can be a piece of shit to you. It's like like I've gotten just some of like the grossest, meanest fucking comments about like, you know, clips that we've posted for this show, and it's just like, I'm like, why did you feel the need to say anything? Like, when it would have been so easy to say nothing and just keep going, you decided to say something fucking hurtful.
Yeah, people
exactly just scroll past it. Like I think it's just sad people, because like you have to be sad or just bored, need some sort of attention. I don't. Like, you're not going to get it from me. I mean, there was a point in time where you were going to get it from me.
But I mean, you set a boundary knowing how you reacted, how you were reacting. If you're like, okay, if every time this pops up, I react like this, I'm going to make sure this doesn't keep popping up. That way I don't have to fight off this reaction.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was making me upset. Yeah. And like, it was truly making me like, I wouldn't say it was making me just like depressed, but it was making me angry. Yeah. It was making me so angry to the point where I felt like I was getting angry in real life. Yeah. Like anytime, even if it had nothing to do with me, if I saw somebody being a shit person, I'm like, fuck you. You piece of shit. Yeah. And it was, and there's things I would never have even like bothered giving attention to, but it's because I'm facing it behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Even like as a kid, like I grew up in a big family. Like when I would get bullied at school, I think I'd come home and bully my siblings.
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah. That's human nature.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
And so same with like social media. If I'm getting attacked behind the scenes, I'm going to find a place where I can retaliate.
Yeah.
No, that's and it may be in my regular human life.
Yeah. It trickles down. Yeah. It like trickles into the rest of when people treat you poorly, it trickles, like it affects the way you treat other people too.
Yeah. And even just like acknowledging that like you noticed that it was bleeding into parts of your life, you know, like the thing that they say, like if we don't heal our wounds, we end up bleeding on people who, you know, didn't cut us, you know, and it's very similarly like, because I don't have a place to express this, I'm expressing it to people who don't deserve it, you know? Like, I wish I could tell all these people to fuck off, but because I'm not, I'm just telling the first person who said good morning to fuck off.
Totally. That's a good point, yeah.
All right, well, dope. We're actually going to take a real quick commercial break. We'll be right back with a smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. And we are back with a smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz.
Hi.
And Amani.
What's up?
All right. So we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back this week only. Oh, yeah. Let's get real, bro. This was a theme for a while. It kind of fell off.
We're curating it a little bit more this time.
we're having people look through these questions because it got fucking weird.
It got really weird.
Question. Do you spend more energy trying to fit in or stand out? And how so? I'll answer this one. To fit in or stand out, fuck me. I would say fit in, as much as I hate to admit it. I think as being the black kid at a white school, I already stood out enough. So I was like, okay, how can I be one of you guys? How can we all just not look at me any different? But I also feel like trying to fit in kind of dulls the things that make me unique because, you know, the things that separate me, like, you know, maybe my goofiness or puns. Not everybody does puns. So I'm like, do less puns. But it's like, that's the thing that you do. So like you not doing it makes you less you.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like a hard thing to navigate. But what about for you folks? Fit in or stand out? Decide.
I feel like I can relate in the sense of like feel like I was a fat kid and I was self-conscious about that, and I felt like I stood out because I was a fat kid. So yeah, I think there's a period of time where I did want to blend in, you know, and I think as I get older, I've realized that like that blending in just made me feel more erased, and like now I've found a way, and even just like with the way I dress, like is a way it represents or manifests, I guess. But yeah, I feel like I've started to like choose to stand out in different ways where, because after a while of just sort of trying to blend in, you start to feel like, no, I have more to offer. And like, I want to, I have you know, I'm a comedian. Like I have a personality that wants to stand out. I've always had that kind of personality, but being self-conscious in your body can really like shift that. Yeah. So, So I would say like it's coming as I get older and I gain more confidence, I'm learning new ways to want to stand out. And I think we're all like, as being comedians, there's part of us that wants to stand out, right? Like,
yes, yeah,
definitely. There's part of us that wants to stand out. I feel like growing up, I had like I probably still do, a demure like sense about me. Like I don't have a lot of energy. A lot of people say this a lot to me, and like I don't know that I tried to fit in or stand out. I just wanted to mind my business.
Yeah.
And just, I was up here a lot of the time. But I guess I would say like you, I was one of the few black kids in the school. So fitting in to me was just kind of essential, like a survival tactic.
Totally.
Like you want to at least not be on the ops of anybody. Like I'd much rather just be cool with everybody than be whatever. And plus, I've never been someone who wanted initially to stand out. Like comedy has given me the attention I've never had in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like it's a blessing, it's a curse, but I always surrounded myself with people who had that like look at me energy about them, and it felt exciting. I think that's probably why I even got into comedy in a weird way, is because like I enjoyed being the friend to the person who is popular.
Yeah.
And now I get to be the popular person, and I'm like, oh
now people are excited to be like, yo, I'm friends with Amani.
You're like, oh, this is sometimes uncomfortable.
I know. I was like, I didn't realize you probably felt uncomfortable.
You're like, maybe this is why I wanted to blend in, because it was easier. Sometimes blending in is easier. Yeah.
What would you say is like the things that you enjoy about standing out?
I think, because someone actually asked me like if I would move to like New York, and I was like, I wouldn't stand out in New York. I'd stand out in the Pacific Northwest.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's fair.
But one of the things, what's the question one more time?
What do you think is the advantage of standing out?
I think that you get to be heard.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest things. If you stand out, if people want to pay attention, then you're going to get heard.
Yeah, I wonder, like, also too, if you are part of like a marginalized group, or like what most of us are in some way, like knowing, like when you are more, like there's less of what, like there's, you know, there's less representation wherever we live. Like it's almost like your voice carries more power too, right? Like, which is also the same thing of like good and bad, right? Like kind of scary and intimidating to have that, but also like you can make a bigger impression maybe, or have like a different impact when you do stand out a little bit based on your identity.
I would definitely say that like the advantage of standing out is that, you know, your voice is now heard, you know, because it's easy for things to kind of just blend into the background of like everyone's talking, therefore everyone is at the same spot. But I would definitely say that that'd be a huge benefit is feeling like you're actually being heard, you know, because I think that a lot of people know how to talk, not a lot of people know how to listen, and it's only to the people who stand out that people really listen. For most people, some people listen to everybody evenly. They're like, I think everyone has something to say. Well, not everybody thinks that. And it's fucking painful that you have to stand out just to be validated in any sort of sense. But
yeah, totally. Well, I was thinking about too about how like standing out also like kind of gives you like an angle. Like I think about, because I do write a lot of jokes about sex, and it's just been like a phase that I've been in because I've been single, and I think I have some thoughts about why I haven't been writing deeper jokes. I just came to earlier, but I think, oh gosh, I know I totally distracted myself about what I was talking about. I always do
you want to talk about the next thing?
I don't know. No, but I was going to say that like I think, like, for example, like writing jokes about something that's common for women to write jokes about, but I'm an older woman and I'm single, which is like not as common for older women.
Sure.
And I don't have children. And so I've noticed that people are interested in my perspective on the thing that I'm talking about, that I'm sometimes self-conscious about talking about something that's more cliche. But I've had people come up to me and be like, no, you have this like different angle about it. And I think it's because of my age and because of like a lot of women my age have kids and are settled down or, you know, partnered or whatever. So yeah, in that way, being a standout can also kind of make your jokes funnier and more unique, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it allows you to reach the people who you're meant to connect with.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
Because like those people who were listening to jokes that were only about being partnered or being, you know, in a relationship or for having kids, the people who had all of those things already had people speaking to them, but now you're speaking to a different part of the audience that like was sitting there and just like, I can't relate with any of this shit. And they're like, no, she gets me.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And like the way where you're doing it too. Like I didn't always think of myself as old, but because I'm comedy, like a lot of people got into it younger than, so a lot of the young female comics are younger than me. And so yeah, it's like wouldn't normally call myself an older woman, but like just to be clear, in that relatively to other comedians. Not that there aren't older female comedians, but yeah. So
what's what? Oh, go ahead.
No,
please.
I was just going to do either of you feel that way though about standing out? Do you feel like it helps your material or like makes your impact different?
Yeah.
It's like for me, like when I go to towns, like yesterday I was in Lebanon and I felt like it helped to stand out because they're like, these people probably don't see Black women or Black people
in general. Yeah.
Like often.
Yeah.
And so I know that they're already going to be looking at me.
Yeah.
And I think that it also gives me a little bit of confidence because I know that they're going to be paying attention.
Yeah.
Good way to think about it.
Yeah, that's a cool way to think about
it. It gives me some like freedom. I'm like, okay, they're going to listen to whatever the fuck comes out of my mouth.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say
it's like a novelty to them. They're like, what's she going to say?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way of thinking about it because I think like when I'm standing out, I think I get anxious. I'm just like, oh God, everyone's looking at me. Everyone's, you know, watching everything that I do. And it like just makes me extremely anxious. But it's just like, that was something that I wanted at one point. You know, I wanted everybody watching me. I wanted everybody's attention. And it's like, I think when you feel like out of control like that, that's when you're like standing out can be a bad thing. But I think that if you can reframe it as like, you know, like everyone's looking at me into like everyone's looking at me, you know, then you can look at it as a positive.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about with the episode with Ryan and Mike. Like your audience, it's more important what you say when you have more audio, or when you stand out more for whatever reason. Like when you have an audience or a platform.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What would you say are the advantages to blending in? There's
less people bullying you, probably, right?
Less conflict.
Less people interjecting themselves into like or giving their opinions, probably, right? Like,
yeah. I remember I was explaining it to one of my friends. He's a rapper and he had success. And he told me, he's like, oh, you got to keep working and like, you got to keep on like giving the people what they want. And I was like, you know what it feels like? I'm like, you know what that attention feels like? It feels like every single person who's giving me attention has now put a finger on my body.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I don't really like to be touched.
Yeah.
So,
without being asked. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm like, I have thousands of people who feel like they have some sort of control over what my body does and access to my body and what this vessel does. And I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's a gross thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just want to blend in so that
yeah.
If I'm like everybody else, nobody's going to be like invasive.
Yeah. No, I've definitely like there's days at work where like I want to stand out and I want to be like the funny person. I want to be the person who cracks jokes at the meetings. And there's other days where I'm just like, don't fucking talk to me. Don't look at me. Like, don't touch me. I just want the least amount of like contact and conversation. Cause there's sometimes that I love conversation. That's why I do this show. But there's other times where I'm just like, don't fucking talk to me.
Yeah.
Not today. And it's, I think blending in sometimes as much as it might be frowned upon, I think like sometimes it is nice to just not feel like everybody's looking at you, whether it's for a good reason or a bad reason. Just feeling like not everybody's paying attention is like, you just feel free to be yourself. You know? If I want to pick my nose, I can.
Yeah. There's some peace in like in anonymity, right? Like,
yeah, I would say like, so there's a song lyric that I really like, and it says like, I like to be alone, but I don't like to feel alone.
Bars.
Ooh, I can relate to that.
It's just like a good balance of I like to like, I don't mind being by myself, but like and blending into things, but I don't like to feel like, even if I'm being watched by tons of people, if I don't feel like, I don't know, if I don't feel the like,
if you're not in the mood for that,
if I'm not in the mood for it, then it just feels awful.
Oh, it's horrible sometimes.
It's like the worst thing in the world.
It's the worst feeling in the universe sometimes to be on stage. Usually it's great, but
there's times where you get up on stage and you don't feel like there could be a billion people in front of you and you don't feel like you're with them.
Yeah,
you feel very alone.
I'm
especially as a comedian, because we really are just up there by ourselves.
Yeah, you're just up there by yourself, but sometimes it feels like you're really up there by
and then you're like, here's all this really like personal shit that you don't care about in the way that I thought you would. Yeah, it's very vulnerable.
I like that you bring that up. Just there was a song lyric that I had kind of heard that was kind of similar to that, but it was just kind of in reference to the idea of like sitting at a table and like surrounded by friends, but feeling like more alone than if you had been alone. And it's like that idea to me is like, I've been surrounded by people and felt fucking like worse than by the times that I was by myself feeling bad about myself. And I think it's almost like the disconnect of like, this should be making me feel better and it's not.
Yeah. I really like what you said too about like the people having their finger on you, because it's like you feel like they have some say about you. Like they that's why they're like, open up your comments again. Like that's so violating and aggressive to come at someone like that. I noticed you turned your comments off so I can't harass you publicly anymore. What's your problem?
Now I'll do it privately. Thanks,
it's like,
man. That's what I was trying to do, is direct this into my inbox.
Exactly.
I was trying to filter it.
Yeah. What the hell do you think you're doing? Trying to have privacy. Like, it's so wild that someone came at you like that. But
multiple people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It was, people even duetted my videos saying, she's really funny, but she should probably put her comments on because it comes off as really. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
You are the reason why.
Yeah, exactly. I literally said that to my mom on the phone. Talking about men, and I was like, they can fucking suck my dick. And I was like, I don't know why that. I got it from Amanda. And like, I mean, I've never said it before in my life, but I've heard Amanda say it on stage about men before. And I'm like, yeah, that's just like the vibe sometimes. Like, and it's probably because it's like
she took it back and she made it cool.
Exactly.
She
it's because we've had it used against us. Yeah, it's like, it just feels like the right fucking thing to say sometimes to a man. Like, I don't have one, but I'll grow one just so you can suck it.
I mean, I used to just tell people to choke. Like,
nice.
Choke already. Choke.
I'm a big fan of like a word that isn't necessarily a swear word.
Yeah.
That has like the punch of like how you when you want to get someone back. I like to find new ones. Like, but yeah, no, the idea of the finger though, like it's, you know what I thought of when you said that? It's like people having their pulse, like it's like you got my finger on the pulse or whatever. You heard someone say that. It reminded me of that, but in like this weird way of like you didn't ask for that, and they're like, I'm just gonna pay attention to you and like have this weird access to you in this way that I feel entitled to and you didn't even give to me necessarily. Or like they decided you gave it to them because you have a platform, but it's like that's not what it meant
by
for
you releasing it, they assume that they had access to you. And it's like, no, by me releasing it, that you have access to view the content. That is the only access I have permitted. Anything beyond that is you assuming that it's okay.
Yeah, it's like they're misinterpreting what you sharing your art means for you. And they're like, no, this is what it's about. And you're like, no,
it's about being critiqued by strangers. It's like, no, it's fucking not.
I decide what it's about. Yeah,
like totally. In the words of Erykah Badu, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit.
Hell yeah.
Like, this is mine.
Hell yeah.
It belongs to me.
Amen to that. All right. Well, we're going to take one more commercial break. We'll be right back with the smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio and Pretty Dope Experience Radio. And we are back with the smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz.
Hi.
And Amani.
What's up?
All right, cool. We're going to do my favorite part and ask the question that is always on my mind and annoys the shit out of everybody. What are you excited for? What are you excited for? I know.
I got a cool show, I guess. Leave Your Troubles in Salem. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Chris is taking it to Salem. So we're
That's
going
awesome.
to the Infinity Room to do Leave Your Troubles. And I'm excited for that.
What's the premise for that show? For those who don't know.
So you submit a trouble or something, whatever you're going through, and then the comedian on the stage tries to answer your problems. Some of them are very dumb. I'm not going to lie. Some of you guys have problems that don't exist.
They like project it up onto a screen, right? So people can read it the whole time.
Yeah. So everyone's reading it. I remember someone said, my first time doing it, so this is my third time. I think I might have done it more.
Must be giving some good advice.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think so. But
well, I want to do it.
I remember well, someone said, I'm depressed. I was like, yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
Like,
welcome to the world.
Welcome to the world. I'm like, there isn't a cure. So
you're all learn some coping strategies.
Yeah, you're hired. You're hired. You're actually going to be our advice portion of the show from now on. So is everybody. Suck it up.
There's no cure.
Oh, that's awesome. So you got a show you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think that'll be really fun. Especially in front of a non-Portland crowd.
Yeah.
Like to see what are people in Salem dealing with, you know?
Yeah. Because they do it at when they get to the show, right? People write it and then they put it some. Yeah. So it's all people that are in the audience, their problems. Yeah. It's a good
I think it's a really cool premise.
Yeah, it's like blowing up right now too.
Yeah,
I saw Chris last night.
They just did it at Helium. Yeah. Kyle Kinane was on.
He said 200 tickets or something.
Yeah,
that's so exciting. I know. I was I saw him last night. So proud of him. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
Shout out to Chris.
Yeah. No, that's super dope. That's super dope. So you got some shows that you're looking forward to. Are you looking forward to anything outside of comedy?
I'm finding out what's wrong with me, and
that's fair. That's fair.
And potentially, like, just taking my car in to get fixed. It's a weird thing to be excited for, but I just want to get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can relate. As somebody who's been out of a car for like 4 or 5 months now, getting it.
Oh yeah, you guys
diagnosed.
both had car disasters recently.
Oh yeah, are you good? I know that you had a whole accident.
I look pretty, so that's all I'm worried about. I survived in I was gonna say my hair, but that's gone. But I lost that in a separate accident.
In a bad haircut accident.
Yeah. No, the car thing is just, it's a super frustrating thing because it's like the reason you got a car is because you planned your life around having that car. You said you agreed to a show because you had a car to get to that show,
totally,
not because you were planning on having car troubles fucking 2 weeks before.
Exactly. So I'm like, how am I getting to Salem? But that's an exciting thing.
Yeah.
No, that's super dope. What about you, Zoe? What are you excited for?
I was saying earlier that I'm excited for the spring and the summer. Actually, I'm like really over the weather, and the days have been getting a little bit longer, and my mental health is always better in the summer. Also, I really love swimming, and my birthday's in the summer.
Okay,
I mean that's not really why I'm excited, but.
No, I mean that's it sounds like the summer has a big place.
I'm just excited to be like outside more and like sunshine and like flowers that smell good and like going on walks. And I'm just excited like for the summer life and the spring life and the being outside again. I'm ready for it. I've been inside way too much over the last few years with like grad school and the pandemic. I did grad school online, which is like literally my worst nightmare. And I was alone like more than I've ever been alone because I was also single for the first time after living with somebody. So it was just like an intense amount of isolation.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really excited to like, for summer feels like the time of year when I like get out more and I'm more social. And so I'm just really looking forward to.
Yeah. Well, you have that availability, you know, like the going outside is an option because there's other people outside, you know, especially like Portland. It's such a hard place to like carve out those few months where it's like okay to go outside and wear suede shoes.
No, I gotta wear all my suede shoes. I wear them, a lot of them in the winter, and they just get pilly.
I'm a dipshit. I'm just like, I got new shoes.
But I'm also really excited because I'm going to be doing that show that I'm doing all the way through the summer. I'm going to get you on there soon, Amani. You can ride with me, girl. Yeah. But I'm doing the Wildcraft show. Where like I'm pretty sure I have the dates picked out all the way through August, so it's at least going to be once a month.
Wow.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, that's super dope. Is this the first show that you produced?
It is the first show I've produced, yes.
Yeah. All right. What are some of the anxieties that are coming along with that?
I don't know if it's anxiety, but it's just like, one, I'm going to host, and hosting is something I'm not great at, but I think it'll be a perfect opportunity to get better because it's like mostly people I know.
She says, well, hosting a show.
Well, you know what I mean? Hosting comedy shows. I don't have a lot of experience hosting comedy shows, and I like to like get on stage, do my thing, and then get off. But when you're hosting, you have to like keep it up, and you have to like, and I just don't have a lot of practice, but I think it's a skill that we all need and it helps. Yeah. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to practice it in a forum where like I know people more of the audience. And so it's like, it'll help me probably get comfortable doing it quicker. Yeah, I think because I know I could be good at it once I practice more. So so I'm excited about getting better at hosting too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And booking my friends and just like getting to share Portland comedy with Eugene more too. And I've already like connected with some comics down there that got booked, and some people were on my show, got booked on the show down there and his show. So I feel like it's just fun. And
yeah. You're making connections not only for yourself, but for other people that you work with.
Yeah. And another thing is I have a lot of really close friends and family down there that I don't get to see as much, especially because of the last couple of years. So getting to go down there once a month intentionally to see my dad's getting really old and stuff too. So that's also part of it, is just being there with my family more too and having a reason to be there. And sharing what I'm doing with them too, which is like, they're all so excited about it. It feels so good.
It's always cool when you get to go back to like the place where you're from and just be like, hey, this is what I've been working on. I know you haven't seen me for a minute, but like this is the stuff that I've been working on.
Yeah, everybody's really supportive too. Like 10 people shared. I already sold like 8 tickets in the first like day that I posted, so it just feels like the support feels really real. Like my old hairdresser hit me up and was like, hey Zoe, I don't know if I'll be able to make it to the show because we're friends. And she was like, you want to get I'll give you like a treat you to like a blow dry and a style on the day of your show. Like just so sweet. People are just like, just it makes you realize how many people are cheering you on from afar,
Yeah, definitely.
That felt really good.
Yeah, I think that, it can, like you were saying, feeling isolated in those moments that you've been feeling earlier, to like putting yourself out there and seeing that people have been watching alongside, being like, hey, like, how can I help you with this?
Yeah, totally. And as for being in a relationship for a long time too, it's like kind of figuring out and then the pandemic happening, like as that ended. So like it took me like 2 years to really like have time practice being social again. And so just kind of like building a bigger network, and like, you're just always more in touch with people when you're single. I feel like it's easier to like, so just reminding myself of all the people I have and like wanting to rebuild those connections or reconnect them or acknowledge them. Yeah. So feeling a little sentimental.
Yeah.
What about you, Zane?
Hey,
what are
there it is. We got there. What am I excited
Zane has to
for?
prompt me.
Just smiling.
I was going to
ask. So what am I excited for? I'm excited for, I guess, well, by the time this airs, who knows? I could be in fucking crisis. But right now, I'm doing pretty good. Like, I'm feeling like I feel like things are coming together. I feel like I'm getting a better handle on my mental health. I feel like I'm getting a better handle on my job. I feel like the content that I'm putting out, the guests that I'm having, I just feel like it's all coming together in the ways that it's supposed to, and it all kind of had to fall apart in the way that it did in order for me to take a step back to really focus on making sure that if I ever put things back together, that it looked exactly how I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. No, I'm super stoked on that. What else am I excited for? Started playing a new video game. It's super heady. It's like about like psychology. It's about our
you were
ego.
Telling me about that.
Yeah, it's about like our ego and just basically like the idea that like our hearts create like a palace that like I guess like the main characters try to understand like people's darker desires, and they try to just alter that and like just believe that like not everybody is these flawed human beings. Like every other game's just like, oh no, fucking kill them. This game's just like, I don't know, maybe try to like approach their minds in a way that like you can change it and believe that people are capable of change. So
yeah, it sounds like it's like rooted in some interesting psychology.
Yes, very much so.
What's it called?
It's called Persona 5. Yeah, they have they had this, what was it? Like a mechanic, and I thought this was really interesting last night. So it was like basically you're this kid, you get to the school, and like everybody just doesn't like you already because they had heard whatever, right? So he like shows up, he goes to the library. When you walk into the library, it's like, oh, everyone's looking at you, nobody likes you, And so basically the game was just like, okay, if you go to the library and you read, you can increase your knowledge, right? But you also, by going to the library where you're not exactly welcomed, you increase your guts. Like by with your courage, by withstanding it. But it also said like if you overhear talking about you, then it can distract you and it'll decrease your knowledge. So I'm like, it had so many different things that like game. That I was just like, who fucking thought of this?
Yeah, I feel like whoever made that game is like someone who's got to have like an interest in like psychology or something. Right? Like, that's.
But for me, it's been trying to. I realize that like when I have these periods of kind of like reset, that like I have a chance to like intake as much media as I can and try to build myself around that. Like I'm somebody who fucking loves superheroes, comic books, shit like that. So it's like I realize that if I take this transformative period and try to make it so that way it's me rebuilding myself most effectively, then like I can really, when I come back to whatever I come back to, I can be that person that I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good.
Yeah,
that's great.
You have any more questions? We have 5 minutes.
I don't know. Is there anything else you're excited for, Amani, or anything else you want to talk about that you're doing? Like you want to promote anything?
The podcast, my podcast,
Yeah.
Rap Dumbass,
Yes.
is coming back.
Thank
Oh, nice.
goodness.
Yeah, Rap
And
Dumbass. That's what it's called.
I
I
have
like
a
it.
new host.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we
What?
have a co-host, AC O'Neal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
We love
that'll be
AC.
fucking
It's gonna
dope.
Love
be
you,
so
AC.
fun. We did 2 episodes together. The first one, my
Hell yeah.
computer crashed on me, and then I got
Oh,
another computer.
tragic.
And the second one, I've listened to it. I just never bothered editing it. The whole thing is just so funny.
I
to me.
bet.
And
Yeah.
so I had to like ask him, hey, can we do this together? Because
Yeah.
I had the most fun with you on here. Plus, like, I've been having a lot of white guests.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, I think if I had an ally who
Yeah,
could
hell yeah.
also help me,
Hell
For
yeah.
sure.
like, talk through comedy and hip hop music. Because I feel like some people don't get the connect, but I think, Dave Chappelle got the connect.
Yeah.
He had an entire festival that was just comedy and hip hop related.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a connect
Oh, there's a
to
huge
both of what we both do. We're both very good writers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just really what
Yeah.
it boils down is we both know how to write and give an idea.
Yeah.
And sometimes these rappers have the funniest ideas.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
well, just the fact that I always think about this being a rapper and a comedian as like I'll tell a pun and it'll bomb and I'm like, yo, if that was a fucking bar though, that was a bar though, everyone would be losing their fucking mind right now.
Truly, like I'm not even gonna lie. There's sometimes I've said some things in my jokes, and I'm pretty sure I heard it in a rap song.
The parallels.
There's a parallel.
Yeah. No, yeah.
No, I think that even just acknowledging that, like, you know, like analogies or metaphors and stuff like that, like different writing and literary techniques, like show up in both music and comedy.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
and the things that you can say, you know, like the way I like to say it is just like, you know, there's things I don't want to rap, there's things I don't want to make rhyme, and there's things I don't want to make funny, you know, and like just realizing that each of those has a different space, I feel like is just extremely important.
True, and then there's just funny lyrics. It's just
Yeah.
really, it just
So is it,
Is that what it is?
from
Yeah.
from like a comedy perspective?
yeah,
Is
it's
it-
from a comedy perspective. So I don't know if you've seen those Rap Genius videos.
yeah, I
where,
love,
like,
love those.
Yeah.
they sit in the chair.
Oh,
and they
so it's like that's
yeah,
fucking
it's like
cool.
that.
I
Oh,
love
that's a
that.
cool idea, Mom.
But it's comedic.
Rap dumbass.
Nice.
That's
So
fucking
we
so
just
clever.
read the rap lyrics out loud,
Oh.
and then you really get to see
I
what
love
is
that.
being said.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I love
And,
that.
yeah,
That's
I've
okay.
had TC Benitez on.
Yes.
I had Hewitt Packenstecker.
Yeah.
Sam Whiteley.
Oh, yeah. Sam Whiteley.
Nice.
And
I
then,
can see those being some really good guests.
That sounds
Yeah.
so fun, Imani. If you ever want me on, I would love to do it. Also, I'm going to
Yeah.
watch it or listen.
Yes.
Is it-
Yeah.
you
I know
reported to it?
we're redoing it. So I did the Nobody's Project, which is another podcast project
Yeah.
where they just interview people around Portland.
Oh, cool.
And they interviewed me, and they've interviewed Jaren and a bunch of people. But the guy who created it, Marky, he was like, "Hey, I love your idea, and I listened to a few of your episodes.
Nice.
Can we do this together?" And at first I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, and like sometimes you have to come to the realization you can't do it all yourself.
Yes.
You really can't. And
Amen to that.
I came to that realization. I'm like, I cannot do this myself. So we connected.
Nice.
I got AC involved, and it's coming back.
Well, good. It's such a good
Perfect.
idea too. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like you're like, I don't have the energy to do this all by myself, but people are like, no, this is great. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
thank
right.
you folks for watching the Smoke Break. Amani, it's been a treat
Yeah,
having you.
thank
I
you
really
for being
appreciated you. And yeah, this has been the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. I've been your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz
Bye.
and Amani. Later, players.